On our third wedding anniversary, my husband Jason's old flame made a big show of returning to the country, inviting all their old high school friends to her welcome home party. When I heard the news, I just smirked and casually posted the guest list for our anniversary dinner on my social feed. That night, the banquet hall was buzzing with clinking glasses and conversation as I strolled through on Jason's arm, a perfect smile on my face. Meanwhile, at her party, the one that got away was left fuming with only a handful of guests, so angry she snapped one of her perfect manicured nails. If there are no other questions, that's a wrap. Thanks, everyone. I had just finished an in-person meeting when I got the news of Luna's return. The second I turned my phone off silent, it went absolutely berserk, vibrating like it was caught in an earthquake. What was all the fuss? Did the sky fall? My assistant didn't interrupt the meeting, so it couldn't be a company emergency. No need to panic. With that in mind, I calmly took a sip of hot tea, scanned the sea of red notification dots for any messages from Jason, and then finally opened my chat with his sister, Carly. A solid 18 unread messages. She was clearly the most frantic, so I started with her. You could tell Carly was in a real panic this time. Her punctuation was all over the place. The messages started 10 minutes ago. Alice, it's a disaster. My brother's old flame is back. Alice? You there? Girl. Your house is on fire. And she's already posting on her story. I can tell she's a total snake. She's definitely back to ruin your relationship. You can't let your guard down. No, I don't care about my brother, but if you get a divorce, how can I still be your bestie? Alice, are you there? Text me back. Don't tell me you haven't checked your phone. It's over, it's all over. That snake Luna even had the nerve to invite my brother to her welcome home party tonight. Hasn't she ever heard of keeping your distance from married men? Alice, you have to stop him. What if something happens, like some cliché plot where she drugs him and things get irreversible? Knowing you'd divorce him for sure, and I just can't. I love my trashy billionaire romance novels, but did you have to bring the drama into my real life? No, please no. The main characters in those novels are always unhinged psychos. Please, I'm begging you, keep them out of my life. Does this mean I'll have to start calling you by your first name again? I don't care, you can't let some man ruin our friendship. Oh. So my house was on fire. I guess that was a little urgent. As I sipped my tea, my eyes started to water and I couldn't stop coughing. Damn, it went down the wrong pipe. Thanks to Carly's tendency to text vomit, I had the full story by the time I finished reading her messages. Of course, I knew who Luna was. She was a favorite piece of high society gossip, Jason's childhood friend, and the woman who was once closest to him. People whispered that she was his one that got away. She was also the girl who, the year Jason was cramming for his college entrance exams and his grandfather was under investigation, decisively bailed to study abroad. Honestly, I could understand her choice. After all, you don't raise a high society daughter just to have her sign up for a charity case. If Luna had chosen to stay by Jason's side, she would have lost a lot, including her family support. Leaving was the logical move. They weren't dating or married, so why should she have to suffer with him? But having made her choice, realizing she'd bet on the wrong horse and trying to come back for a second chance? That's where she was wrong. To be honest, the first time Carly told me about it, I felt like I was listening to some trashy audiobook. It was straight out of a cheesy romance novel, something like The Billionaire's Runaway Sweetheart. For a second, I even looked at Jason with a hint of disgust. The thought of people calling me the rebound for the one that got away or the poor wife who's about to get divorced now that his old flame is back made me want to leave the planet. It was so cringe. The secondhand embarrassment was so real, my toes were trying to dig their way out of my shoes. Ahem. Back to the matter at hand. Know your enemy and know yourself, and you will not be imperiled in 100 battles. I knew about Luna when we were dating, so of course I had someone look into her after we got married. I knew everything about her years abroad, right down to how many boyfriends she'd had and why she came back. She wasn't going to get anything out of this. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I opened the first image she sent, a screenshot of Luna's social media post. Luna had taken a selfie at the airport, smiling brightly for the camera. The caption read, "Finally back home. I've missed you all so much. No regrets this time." My eyes landed on her manicure. It was a simple, elegant black and white cat-eye design, very pretty. But if I remembered correctly, I'd gotten the exact same style last month. Jason had even gone with me and posted about it. So, was this an accident, or was it on purpose? I was leaning toward purposefully accidental. Now that made things interesting. A smile crept across my face. It seemed Luna wasn't here to play nice. Was she trying to hint that she was ready to be the third in our 2+1? I swiped to the second picture, another screenshot from Luna's feed. It was a 200-word essay about how she'd been forced to leave back then but was so glad to finally be back. She reminisced about the good times with her friends, and at least half of it was dedicated to Jason. This was a blatant declaration of war. I loved it. And that line, "No regrets this time." It actually made me laugh. If she were really that devoted, I wouldn't even be in the picture. The girl was even lying to herself. Jason and I had been classmates for 4 years in college and married for 3. We'd known each other for over 7 years. In Hollywood, that's enough material to churn out a few hundred episodes of some 7-year-itch drama starring a couple of B-listers just to cash in. If she loved him so much, where was she back then? Did she lose her voice? It was just a calculated decision, weighing the pros and cons. Only a fool would buy that sob story. Not to mention, today was my 3rd anniversary with Jason. For Luna to pick today to make a high-profile comeback and throw a welcome party, if she told me that wasn't intentional, I'd make Jason wash his hair standing on his head. Now that I had the full picture, I truly wasn't worried. I even took another sip of tea. What was the point of me getting worked up? It takes 2 to tango. If the man isn't panicking, why should the woman? The issue isn't that someone wants to be a homewrecker, it's what the man thinks. If a person has a sense of responsibility and self-respect, they'll control their own desires. They don't need someone else policing them. If you can't even control what's in your pants, don't talk to me about true love. You can talk to my hand. Most cheating men have a "why not" attitude. They don't want to lose the devoted wife who manages everything at home, but they also don't want to pass up the young thing throwing herself at them. So they happily lie to themselves and let things slide. When they get caught, they shift the blame, claiming the other woman seduced them, and conveniently disappear from the narrative. How does that make any sense? Of course, being drugged is a different story. You handle that based on the specifics. It's perfectly normal for a regular player to lose against someone using cheat codes. But I had no intention of going after Luna. Because I trust Jason. Being loved has made me grow, made me whole. I've truly found a soulmate I can trust and understand completely. I'm no longer the little girl who built walls around herself to avoid getting hurt. I'm not insecure about our relationship crossing class lines, always ready to run at a moment's notice. Or maybe it's just that I'm now accomplished enough in my own right that I'm confident Jason won't find anyone better or more compatible than me. Since I chose to spend my life with Jason, I will trust him unconditionally. Until he gives me a reason not to, I won't let some irrelevant person make me doubt the man I share my bed with. So, Jason's next move would determine my next move toward him. I hope Jason doesn't disappoint me. I swiped again. The last picture wasn't a social media screenshot, but a picture of a group chat. In the chat, Luna had tagged everyone, announcing her return and inviting them to her welcome home party. And then she went right for it. She was clearly determined to be the third wheel. I refused to believe that after being in the same social circle for 3 years, she didn't know he was married. Her information would have to be criminally outdated. More likely, she was just playing dumb. Jason, it's been so long. You'll be there tonight, right? The people in the group were all from their clique back before Luna went abroad. Seeing her ask about Jason directly, a few idiots I didn't know started hyping it up in the chat. I had to laugh, watching these clueless guys, who probably didn't even know Jason was married, get all excited. Normally, a decent person wouldn't try to stir up drama between a woman and a married man. Then again, maybe they were just morally bankrupt. Before I got with Jason, I'd heard stories about how wild rich people were, and I was always prepared to bolt. But it turned out Jason was more innocent than I was. He introduced me to his parents while we were still dating and couldn't wait to have a wedding the second we graduated. In public, he's this poised, powerful figure, but behind closed doors, he's constantly cuddling and being sweet with me. These past few years have been so blissful, I was starting to think the wild rich people rumors were just that, rumors. Turns out, Jason's circle is just surprisingly clean. My mistake. I blew on the foam in my tea. I'd summarize this screenshot as: the homewrecker makes her move, the idiots pile on, the idiots tag Jason, Jason remains silent. I chuckled seeing the others awkwardly try to cover for Jason's lack of response. Only I knew, of course, that he wouldn't reply. What do a few idle rich kids know about a CEO's busy schedule? Right now was his company's weekly all-hands meeting. He was probably suffering through it just like I was a little while ago. Did people really think CEOs in novels, who somehow become billionaires despite being dirt poor and just randomly sign $100 billion contracts all day, were real? Sometimes I hear those numbers and forget what money even is. Please. With thousands of employees waiting to get paid, a CEO is busier than anyone. Does anyone really think a company that massive just comes as a free prize in a cereal box? That you can just have one whenever you want, without any effort to build or maintain it? Life isn't some brain-dead novel. What CEO has time to run around causing drama, getting into petty fights, and chasing after his wife all day? That kind of CEO is usually a figurehead with no real power. The kind whose dad is the real boss, so they just have a cushy, do-nothing job. Otherwise, if the person in charge was ditching work during business hours, what kind of company could survive that? You might as well turn the office into a nightclub. They'd either go bankrupt or get kicked off the board by a vote of no confidence. Unless, of course, they're just a mascot. That would make sense. The chat log ended there, but knowing Carly, she was probably on the front lines, eagerly consuming all the gossip. I raised an eyebrow and sent her a sticker. Just got out of my meeting. Jason's not going. Carly lit up instantly, replying in a second. Alice, how do you know? Did he text you back? Thank God, thank God. My bestie is safe. Her cute response made me laugh. Did you forget about the dinner party tonight? If Jason ditched an event this big to go to a welcome home party. I let out a small chuckle and typed with my finger, you want him to just not have a company? Carly relaxed and sent back a sticker. Oh, right. Luna is going to be so embarrassed. That's what she gets for trying to steal someone's man. Bwahahaha. I couldn't help but mirror the expression on the sticker. I never realized this girl had such a villainous side. Seriously, she was going to make people confuse the victim here. We're the good guys, remember? Carly quickly sent over the latest developments, firing off messages like a top-tier salesperson who always replies instantly. In just a few seconds, another dozen messages flooded in. Alice, Alice. New development. I, now accustomed to Carly's message bombing, went straight to the new screenshot she'd sent. In the picture. Seeing that Jason hadn't replied for a while, Luna started tagging his best friends. Luna, Leo, you guys have to come tonight. It's been so many years. Leo was one of Jason's few ride-or-die friends, and also one of the rare high EQ tech geniuses I'd ever met. Most geniuses are either arrogant or quiet, but Leo was clearly a different breed. It wasn't until Jason casually mentioned it one day that I learned Leo came from a family of high-ranking politicians. That explained it. Most politicians have enough schemes to make someone with trypophobia pass out on the spot, not to mention they love to talk in circles. It's a 99% probability that their kids will be sharp as tacks. Especially from a prominent family like his at the very least, they know how to put on a good public face. In college, Jason, Leo, and a few other classmates started a business together. Today, their company is a leader in the industry. Jason manages the administrative side, while Leo runs the company's core, the technology department. I've seen the tech department. It's a bunch of overworked programmers who forget to eat and sleep when they're coding, surrounded by mountains of fallen hair and crumpled paper. I once curiously asked Leo why they didn't just use tablets. He said it didn't feel right unless he wrote it out by hand. So everyone under him followed suit, their notebooks filled with scribbles only they could decipher. The company was loaded and just deployed a few hundred of its newly produced smart robot vacuums in the office space. The trash the tech nerds produced didn't even have time to grow mushrooms, it was gone the second it hit the floor. With so many robots on the job, the floors weren't just clean, they were so polished an ant would slip and break its neck. You couldn't walk and look at your phone, or you'd face plant. It also left me with some serious trauma. The last time I was in the tech department, I got bumped and dropped a stack of files. Before Leo and I could even bend down, we saw a whole squad of robots charging toward us. I was so scared I just dropped to the floor and started grabbing frantically. Just thinking about that embarrassing moment makes me cringe. I didn't even care that I'd dropped my phone. If I'd been any slower, those files would have been shredded. They were the product of so many people's hard work, and I couldn't forgive myself if I let them be destroyed. If it had just been one robot, I wouldn't have panicked. But I had no idea what corner they were hiding in, and suddenly 7 or 8 of them swarmed in at once. I was sweating bullets. So many robots, so little work. Even the vacuums were caught in a rat race these days. It was outrageous. Back to the screenshot. With Luna calling them out directly, Jason's best friends couldn't keep playing dead, especially since they were old acquaintances. Leo, Luna, welcome back. I've got something tonight, so I can't make it. You guys have fun. Leo, the master of tact, took the lead and then sent a big red envelope of cash to the group chat. Jason's other good friends quickly followed suit, expressing their regrets and welcoming Luna back. I raised an eyebrow. That one sentence told me everything I needed to know about their stance. That Leo was a clever one. His words were flawless, and he didn't give away the fact that he was also coming to our dinner party tonight. They all moved in the same circles, so Leo and the others were more or less aware of Luna's feelings for Jason. But they didn't choose to side with their childhood friend. Every time Luna tried to ask in the group if Jason was coming, they would just deflect and change the subject. I smiled as I watched the drama unfold. Jason had been planning this 3rd anniversary celebration for over a month. As his best friends, there was no way they'd let Luna come and stir up trouble. But I still had my part to play. In fact, I was kind of hoping she'd show up. I've always believed in solving problems face to face to avoid letting them fester. And if the problem can't be solved, then I solve the person who created it. I wasn't about to let someone show up at my door and just stand there looking pitiful, saying, "I have nothing to say." That would be giving way too much credit to a wannabe homewrecker. I opened my chat with Jason's assistant and sent a few instructions. Jason had started planning our anniversary a month ago. He'd even sent me a formal ball invitation, saying he had a surprise for me. I didn't ask for much, just for the assistant to send me a copy of the evening's guest list. Jason had been so secretive, promising a big surprise, so I hadn't asked about any of the details. He had personally arranged everything from the venue decor to the guest list. But now that Luna was making a move, I had no choice but to step into the ring with her. Looking at the list the assistant sent over, I was a little stunned. I knew the party would be a big deal, but this was on another level. Perfect. This would make things much easier. I printed the list and placed it on my desk, then took an invitation out of my bag. I carefully arranged them and snapped a photo from a meticulously planned angle, making sure the names of the first few VIPs on the list were unintentionally visible. After taking it, I checked the photo carefully to make sure no sensitive documents were in the shot. That would be a huge mistake, and Luna wasn't worth that kind of risk. I double-checked the position of the guest list, ensuring it was subtle but still legible if someone zoomed in. Only then did I post it to my feed with a satisfied smile. 3rd anniversary dinner. Humph. You want to mess with me? Let's see how many people show up to your welcome home party tonight. A true queen never looks back at the explosion. After dropping my carefully prepared bomb on my social feed, I logged off without a second glance. There was a tough battle to fight tonight, and the audience was already invited. All that was left was to see how the leading man would perform. I checked the time. Jason's meeting should be wrapping up soon. I opened my chat with him and decided to poke the bear. Fries, I hear your old flame is back in town. He replied instantly. I love fries. Honey, when did you leave the country? I choked. I changed my username and tried again. If my husband cheats, I'm gay now, not me. Your little childhood sweetheart, Luna, has made her triumphant return. She even invited you to her welcome home party. Jason, once again, missed the point entirely. I love fries. She calls herself my old flame? When did I ever say that? Is she trying to cash in on some old favor and take everything she can get? If my wife is gay, then I'm trans. I've been framed, honey. My phone is broken and getting fixed. I logged into WhatsApp on my work phone just so I wouldn't miss your messages. I had no idea she was back, and even if I did, it has nothing to do with me. I'm a married man. If my wife is gay, then I'm trans. Yeah, she helped my mom once when we were kids, but our family gave her family so many favors over the years it was enough to buy them out. The debt was paid off long ago. We have nothing to do with them. If my wife is gay, then I'm trans. They took all that help, and the moment my grandpa was in trouble, her family was the first to cut ties. So shady. Sending Luna abroad was the only good thing they ever did. Jason sent 3 messages in a row. When I didn't reply, he started to panic. If my wife is gay, then I'm trans, honey? Honey? If you're mad, you can yell at me. Don't hold it in, it's bad for you. I'll go post on my story right now and clarify that I have nothing to do with her. Then he went silent. He probably rushed off to post. The reason I didn't reply was because his new username was so insane it actually stunned me for a second. Even though it was his private account, I was worried it would affect his reputation, so I scrambled to change my name back. I have to say, Jason knows exactly how to get to me. Fries, I'm not mad. I was changing my name, your new one was way too wild. I love fries, you scared me. I thought you were leaving me. Fries, moi. Catch it? I love fries, I'm catching it, I'm catching it, I'm catching it. I let out a soft laugh, amused by his antics. Fries, you are dismissed. I love fries, as you wish, your majesty. Be sure to summon this humble servant to your chambers tonight. I belatedly went to check Jason's social media. He had posted a picture with a single sentence. Whether it's our 3rd anniversary, our 30th, or until we're old and gray, the only one I'm walking with is Alice. Irrelevant people, please keep your distance. The photo, a shot from our wedding day, where he's holding me princess style and I'm laughing my head off in my wedding dress. I smiled, but my eyes quietly welled up. His love had always been something to be proud of. I tapped the comment button and wrote 2 words. Fries, approved. Jason replied instantly below. I love fries, thank you, your grace. Leo, look at you, all happy again. I love fries, slacking off, I see. I'm reporting you. Leo, the single Leo has angrily left the chat. Below that was my own post. Jason had left a comment telling me to look forward to a big surprise tonight. As I was sipping my tea, a little water dripped onto my clothes. I realized my smile had gotten a little too wide. I quickly grabbed a napkin and carefully blotted the water stains off the invitation. This invitation appeared a month ago, on a night when we were taking a walk after dinner. Jason said he was going to perform a magic trick for me. Under the streetlight, the invitation miraculously appeared in his hand. He stood in the light, just like the day he asked me to be his girlfriend, and, with the air of a thief, pulled a peach blossom branch out from the bushes behind the street lamp. I had to give him credit for coming up with such a hiding spot. I silently mocked him, but I couldn't hide the smile on my face. The petals on the branch were in full, gorgeous bloom. He placed it, along with the invitation, into my hand. How could life be the same no matter who you spend it with? The invitation was still warm from his body, just like his passionate heart. As for how his previously bulging sleeves suddenly went flat, that wasn't important. Nobody cared. What I cared about was his heart, which loved me. When we got home that night, I put the invitation in my safe right in front of him, waiting for this day to take it out again. I'm not the type of person who says I love you easily. I can be a little reserved on the outside. But not saying sweet things doesn't matter. Actions are often more convincing than words. Sometimes, doing something in person is more effective than doing it in secret. That night, I didn't say a word when I got home, but Jason had a smile plastered on his face all evening. It's just that my back was a little sore when I woke up the next day. I kind of missed the innocent fool he used to be. Ahem. I patted my suddenly flushed cheeks and brought my thoughts back to the present. I watched as the little red dot on my post rapidly increased. It seemed someone had figured out the hidden message. I hummed a little tune. Looks like Luna's welcome home party will only have a few stragglers tonight. After all, for a family to maintain its standing in high society, it relies on either strength or connections. Anyone with a bit of ambition wouldn't pass up an opportunity like tonight. The big names on that list were people that families with less influence would rarely even get a chance to meet. They were probably only attending tonight out of respect for Jason's grandfather. I had no doubt those social climbers would be trying every trick in the book to get close to them. But usually, at these kinds of events, there's a second floor for VIPs to chat and relax. The big shots usually make an appearance and then head upstairs. So even if the guest list leaked, it wouldn't be a huge issue. I continued to trace the design on the invitation. The pattern, drawn by a master artist, was exquisite and intricate. Peach blossoms grew and spread across the cover, looking almost real. That was the flower that brought Jason and me together. At first, I thought I was destined to be a fiercely independent single woman. I was single for over 20 years before I met Jason and never really thought about what kind of partner I was looking for. I used to imagine that if I were with someone, it would have to be because our love was unshakable, because we understood and accepted each other, and our values aligned perfectly. The conflict was, I never dared to take that first step in real life. The pessimist in me didn't believe anyone could love me the way I imagined. At my core, I'm a pessimist. The unfamiliar is dangerous to me, and love felt like a high-stakes gamble into the unknown. I don't find the unknown exciting, I find it terrifying. I was afraid of giving my all only to be betrayed and hurt. I was a coward. Because I couldn't afford to lose. As an ordinary person, I didn't have the resources for that kind of risk. So I was always the one being pursued, and always the one who regretfully said no. Until I stood outside a hospital room, holding a medical report that was so thin it felt insignificant, yet so heavy it felt like it could break my back. I knew my calm, predictable life was about to change. This is why they say, never look down on a young person's struggles, because people who work hard truly do shine after being polished by the river of time. What was a massive sum to me back then would later become the price of a single dress or a handbag. I even have an entire room just for those beautiful but impractical things, all decorated by Jason. I suspect he's trying to play a real-life version of Miracle Alice. But no matter what came later, at that moment, I was just a regular college student with a bit of intelligence and talent. I can't even remember the doctor's regretful words, only the phrase, the total estimated cost for the surgery is X $100,000. Amid my family's pain but quiet sobs, I walked back to my dorm in a daze, my heart heavy with worry. Then I splashed some water on my face, got myself together, and started taking stock of all my assets. As long as there was life, there was hope. No amount of money was too much. Fortunately, there was some truth to the saying that knowledge is wealth. I tallied up all the scholarships I'd saved over the years, plus prize money from various competitions, awards for being the top student in my province, and some small investments I'd made. It all added up to over $100,000. But it was nowhere near enough. I only wanted the absolute best for my family. That amount would, at most, cover the initial matching tests, the surgery itself, and the subsequent equipment fees. But post-op care, hospitalization to prevent relapse, and the best possible recovery would require intensive physical therapy. I estimated I needed at least another few tens of thousands saved up just in case. I left myself with only $100 for living expenses and transferred everything else to a single card to pay the hospital. I rubbed my fingers together and finally let my gaze fall on a USB drive. Back in college, I had a sharp sense that AI was the future, which is why I chose to major in computer science, a field dominated by men. On that drive was a set of AI programming technology one had developed on my own after starting college. It was currently only a prototype. No, that's all right. Thank you. In the library, I politely hung up the phone with the head of the tech department from a well-known industry company and wearily pinched the bridge of my nose. Originally, I had planned to approach major tech companies after the tech was fully developed. But fate had other plans. Pitching a half-finished product meant the offers wouldn't be great. After all, there was no guarantee a prototype would succeed. Plus, AI technology wasn't widely used yet. Big companies would rather develop it themselves than bet on a student who hadn't even graduated. The funding and terms they offered didn't meet my expectations, so I decided to abandon my fastest route to cash. Another competition ended. I walked off the stage to the sound of admiration and applause. Leo strolled over. Working so hard lately? Aren't you working on your program anymore? Leo and I knew each other well from student government and competitions. After a couple of semesters, we had become pretty good friends, so I answered him honestly. I'm short on cash right now. The real reason was that I knew he and Jason were very close. He raised an eyebrow, but I cut him off. Don't. If I borrow money, I won't be able to treat you guys as friends with a clear conscience. The truth was, I wanted to see what Jason would do. Leo nodded, and after a bit more small talk, he left. That afternoon, I found Jason waiting for me at the entrance of my dorm. Can I talk to you for a minute? A barely perceptible smile touched my lips. Sure. We sat down on a bench in the peach grove. It was spring, and the blossoms above were in full, glorious bloom. I met his gaze without flinching. This handsome, roguish face, adored by countless people on the school forums, was now looking at me nervously, hesitating, starting to speak and then stopping. I didn't rush him, just lost myself in my own thoughts, watching the peach blossoms drift down around him. After a long internal struggle, Jason finally spoke. Jason, Alice, My eyes were deep. You? Jason, I want to sponsor your research. I froze. I had a whole social media announcement post ready to go, and this is what you hit me with. To be honest, I wasn't that desperate for the rest of the money. A capable person can always find a way. Even without selling the program, with my grades, I could easily sign a talent contract with a major company or become a competition coach. This dummy had left me speechless, but I was also a little touched. But I need a lot of money. How much can you sponsor? I've saved up quite a bit over the years. Whatever you need, I'll give it to you. Is it worth it? What if my research leads to nothing? I believe in you. You're Alice, the legendary genius of our university. If it fails, we'll just consider it my investment in you as a future business partner. Afraid I wouldn't believe him, Jason frantically pulled out his phone to show me his bank balance. I can spawn. I cut him off, half amused and half exasperated. Jason, I said, reaching out and pressing a finger to his lips. I watched his face turn beet red and, under a shower of blossoms, I spoke softly. Let's be together. That year, the sea of flowers was like a waterfall, and the warm sun filtered through the branches like scattered gold dust. And imprinted on my heart along with that beautiful scene was a fool with the most sincere eyes. I had known for a long time that Jason liked me, I just pretended not to. From the day we first met in student government, I could tell the way he looked at me was different from how he looked at anyone else. But I'd seen plenty of people fall for my appearance. That kind of affection is fleeting and replaceable. Love at first sight? More like lust at first sight. What I wanted was someone who would always and forever choose me. But gradually, I don't know when it started, my attitude toward his clumsy affection shifted from that of a bystander to someone who was frustratedly rooting for him. After Leo started intentionally getting to know me, Jason would always pretend he was just accompanying Leo to a competition and happened to bring me a bottle of water. When I was buried in books at the library, there was always a figure in the back right corner who would only get up to leave after I did. And at night, the fool who thought I didn't know would follow me from a distance, making sure I got back to my dorm safely before turning back to his own. How could someone be so earnest? If I hadn't recognized you, you would have been reported to campus security by now. I'd say out loud that no one remembers quiet sacrifices, but my heart was growing warmer and warmer. So I started asking Leo to study for competitions with me more often, and Leo would always bring a certain fool along. I started leaving the library earlier and earlier. After all, the hot water in the dorms shut off at 11, and the men's and women's dorms were on opposite ends of the campus. I also switched my route back to the most scenic one, so a certain idiot wouldn't have to get eaten by mosquitoes he was too scared to swat. I started wanting to know Jason as a person, so I used our mutual friend Leo as an excuse to hang out with him. Later, I discovered that his values, character, and morals were surprisingly in sync with mine. Maybe it's because he's just a genuinely good person, which is why he could do things that seemed so difficult in the eyes of others. Leo and I both knew, without saying a word, the real reason our friendship was getting stronger. Only Jason, the blockhead with a smart face who turned into a complete doofus when he had a crush, was getting jealous of Leo every day. I'd watch him secretly, or so he thought, elbow Leo while we were discussing problems, then turn my head with a smile and pretend to be studying, selectively ignoring the twitch at the corner of Leo's mouth. Leo, a very useful wingman. At the time, I didn't think I liked Jason, just that I had a good impression of him. Maybe I was just too lonely. In that moment, I suddenly thought, if Jason confesses, I'll give it a try. I just, suddenly wanted to be in a relationship. After all, no matter how pretty the words are, they can't compare to taking action. Later, I thought that maybe I had already been moved by that silent, watchful figure over hundreds of moonlit nights. I was starting to believe that if it was him, maybe we really could spend a lifetime together. But this fool, after more than a year, was still interacting with me under the guise of being Leo's friend. So timid. But that was fine. If you're too shy, I'll just make the first move. It's only fair, since this dummy has a special place in my heart. I knew Jason was a little dorky before we got together, but I never expected his condition to worsen after we started dating. From Jason's perspective, our relationship must have felt like a pie falling from the sky. The girl he'd had a secret crush on for over a year suddenly confessed to him. Just like that, he had the girl of his dreams. Jason, easy win. For a while, the corners of his mouth were practically touching his ears. The pictures of him on the school forums went from various handsome shots to him grinning like an idiot in different locations. My social feed was also flooded by him. 3 posts a day showing us off, more punctual than mealtimes. During that period, when I was busy with my research, my phone would buzz, and I'd know it was time for a certain someone to come pick me up for a meal. Later, spamming his feed wasn't enough, since he didn't have that many friends on his list. So he turned his malevolent gaze upon our classmates. For example, a classmate walks by. Jason, hey, what a coincidence. Oh. How did you know I'm not single anymore? Yeah, that's right, the campus beauty from the computer science department is my girlfriend. You know, the smartest and most talented one. Classmate? Who asked you? Jason, yep, the one who won the gold medal in the math competition last semester and got a full scholarship. That gorgeous girl. I'm her boyfriend. Classmate, losing it, who asked you? I mean, who cares? I'm telling you, absolutely nobody asked. Among us, 0 people asked you. I invited everyone who asked you to a party, and the attendance was 0. Who asked? Jason, right, her name is Alice, blah blah blah. The classmate would have a complete meltdown, hissing and crawling away in dark angst as he chased Jason off into the distance. I, having come to find Jason, would witness this scene and shake my head. The rage of a single person is a terrifying thing. I eventually found out about Luna by accident. It was the 7th day after Jason and I got together. After being inseparable for days, I casually mentioned my plan to start a business after graduation during one of our chats. Jason, now bored of showing off on his feed, perked up. He decided to introduce me to his circle of friends, partly to help pave the way for me. Of course, his main goal was to show off his amazing girlfriend. In his words, it was keeping it in the family. Helping out his future sister-in-law was perfectly normal, right? Jason invited a bunch of his close friends to a gathering, saying he wanted to formally introduce them to their new sister-in-law. I laughed and teased him for thinking about post-graduation stuff when we were only sophomores. But Jason's smile vanished. With a wounded look and a voice on the verge of tears, he asked me why I never considered a future with him. Then, right in front of me, he chugged the last few sips of my medium-sized milk tea to punish me. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry as I cupped the handsome, childish boy's face and tried to soothe him, but my sweet words had no effect. I must have been bewitched by his good looks at that moment, because I suddenly leaned in and kissed his cheek. The scene of him sitting next to me, red-faced, saying, "Don't think you can bribe me with your beauty," is still fresh in my mind. Such a pure Jason. A limited edition, sadly. The Jason of today is a total pervert. Although I didn't show it on my face, I was deeply moved. I had started dating Jason with a let's see how it goes attitude, but he gave me an unprecedented sense of security. Maybe, by some twist of fate, I had really found my soulmate. Jason took me to a high-end club for the get-together he had organized. He said it was just some friends he knew. The moment I walked into the private room that day, I noticed the hostile gaze of a guy with a buzz cut sitting at the edge of the room. I couldn't care less. I met his gaze head-on. His prickly stare, combined with his hairstyle, made him look like a giant hedgehog. So, I happily decided to call him Hedgehog Guy in my head. He wasn't trying to hide his dislike for me, and I didn't care one bit. Seriously, I wasn't going to spend my life with him, and he wasn't my boss. Why should I care what he thinks? I've always lived by a simple rule: live my own life, and as for people who don't like me, as long as they don't bring their drama to my face, I just pretend they're dead. If they do bring it to my face, I make sure they suffer a complete social death. That's why I've always been happy and never wasted energy on pointless internal struggles. As they say, Grandma lived to be 99 because she never meddled in other people's business. Following my life's philosophy, even though I noticed that a small group in the room, led by Hedgehog Guy, wasn't friendly toward me, I wasn't intimidated at all. I smiled and looked back at each of them. Then, I let my gaze sweep over them, up and down, with a look of feigned arrogance, before shaking my head and looking away in disgust, as if I'd seen something dirty. That was enough to seriously piss off a few of those rich kids who had never faced any real hardship. Ah, so satisfying. Whether it's envy or resentment, I don't care if you don't like me. If you get so angry you drop dead, I'll be sure to send flowers to your funeral, for old time's sake. Hee hee. I paid them no mind and graciously greeted everyone as Jason introduced me. The funny thing was, the same rich kids who had been acting so tough a moment ago were all perfectly behaved in front of Jason, their attitude warm and friendly. They didn't dare say a single negative word about me. It also made me reassess my assumptions about Jason's family background. Just a moment ago, I was full of confidence, ready to build a life with this person by my side, to be there for each other and achieve great things together. Suddenly, I was having second thoughts. Before this, I was actually pretty confident. I had looks, talent, and brains. Even if I didn't go into research, I could make a comfortable living as a competition coach. I was sure I was good enough for Jason. After all, you need to have your own foundation to have a voice. Now, I wasn't so sure. I knew a college student who could casually pull out tens of thousands of dollars probably came from a well-off family, but I never imagined Jason was this loaded. He was hiding it well. This was the difference between being well-off and being disgustingly rich. I thought I was dating a cute, rich boy, but you're telling me I'm dating a trust fund baby with the face of a movie star and the family fortune of a Rockefeller? Seriously, are all college guys this valuable these days? There was a guy in this room whose face I recognized from my internet browsing, the famous playboy and heir, Ian. Ian's family was ranked in the top 100 in the country, which is why his private life got so much attention. And a guy like that was one of Jason's best friends, chatting with him so casually and warmly, not at all formal. Jason's family background couldn't be simple. No wonder so many girls were shooting daggers at me when I walked in. I had naively thought they were just mad I'd snagged a handsome guy. Turns out, they were mad I'd snagged a prime marriage prospect. He was basically the Rolls-Royce of arranged marriages. After all, a guy like Jason, good family, clean reputation, handsome, good personality, and highly educated, was probably a catch of the century in the marriage market. For me to snatch him up, yeah, they had every right to be furious. In the face of that kind of legacy, personal achievements are just icing on the cake. What you work hard for 20 years to achieve, someone else can get just by getting married and merging two family businesses. I truly lost my confidence. I also didn't want Jason to be ostracized by his family because of me. I sighed silently. This realization suddenly knocked 10 points off my confidence in our relationship. I subconsciously ignored the faint twinge of sadness and reluctance in my heart. Oh well. The world of adults isn't a fairy tale. You have to bow to reality eventually. At that moment, I snapped myself out of the unrealistic dream of spending a lifetime with Jason and prepared myself for a breakup. Whatever. Live for today. Landing a guy this amazing, even for a little while, was a win. I couldn't be too greedy. I tried to find some humor in the situation. Maybe I'd get to experience being handed a check by a wealthy mother-in-law. Ugh, love is such a torturous little thing. Oh well. Jason was such a great catch, at least I wouldn't have to worry about him being too naive and getting taken advantage of by some girl in the future. It was clear that Jason held a high position within this group. Although everyone seemed to be chatting casually, whenever Jason or one of his close friends spoke, someone would always jump in to keep the conversation going. Not only did they never let their words fall flat, but their responses were also clever, on point without sounding like they were sucking up. No wonder they say the rich are all shrewd. Just their ability to read a room was something a naive college student could study frame by frame. Every time Jason handed me something to eat or drink, their eyes would follow his hand, as if they were surprised, or perhaps trying to gauge my importance to him. Even the daggers they'd been shooting at me earlier seemed to have diminished. Many of them had suddenly calmed down. Boring. Seeing this, I ignored the hostile glares in the room, theatrically tapped Jason, and leaned in to whisper in his ear, "I want to try your juice." Jason, who had been laughing and joking just a second ago, instantly transformed into a shy college kid. He clutched his glass, ears turning red, and stammered as he looked at me. I quickly pushed aside my melancholy. Does anyone understand? A super handsome guy who is a master of his craft but a complete, innocent amateur when it comes to love. That contrast had me, a total relationship novice, completely hooked. Good looks are truly tempting. I'm no longer a believer in self-control. I had originally just wanted to provoke the dagger throwers in the room, but now I couldn't resist teasing him more. Who cares about a bunch of haters when you have a man to play with? Well, I can order you another one. I looked him in the eyes and said with a light laugh, "That's too much trouble. Can I just use your glass?" I held up my fingers slightly and blinked. I promise, just a tiny sip. You wouldn't mind, would you? Jason's gaze darted away, but he couldn't help stealing glances at me. And no, I don't mind. Then I won't be polite. With that, I took his glass and, under his watchful eyes, took a sip from the spot right next to where his lips had been. I smiled. It really is delicious. Jason's lips pressed together as he took the glass back from me. With the glass still half full, he tilted his head and drank from the exact spot my lips had just touched, finishing it in one go. Even in the dim lighting of the room, I could clearly see a deep blush spread across his pale neck, all the way to the tips of his ears. The body doesn't lie. His reaction to me brought me a thrill of pleasure. I was happily admiring Jason's shy expression when I felt a strong, intense stare on me. Annoyed at being interrupted while flirting, I turned my head to find Leo. The guy was looking at me with a weird, teasing expression. This was the downside of being too close to someone. It made a certain part of me get hard. My fist. My fist was getting hard. I was going to sneak into his place later and snip some of his precious mint to make soup. Our eyes met in a silent battle. Leo, wow, the big dummy finally figured it out. Me, thanks for the assist, bro. But Jason's not a dummy, thank you very much. Leo, ooh, getting defensive already? Just as I was about to mentally dismember Leo with my glare, Jason manually turned my head back around. Jason, his ears still red, casually handed me a cup of hot tea, blocking the death stare battle between me and Leo. I was surprised they even served fine green tea here. This really was a high-class club. Don't look at that poser, Leo. Drink your tea, honey. Thanks, my handsome man, I said with a laugh, taking the tea from my little jealous boy and giving his hand a squeeze. Perhaps our blatant flirting was too much for the single guys in the room. Hedgehog guy, who had had a few drinks and was probably feeling bold, suddenly shot to his feet, grabbing everyone's attention. Here we go. The drama I was waiting for has finally arrived. Hedgehog guy stared at our clasped hands for a long moment. I was starting to think he had a thing for Jason. But then he blurted out, "What does this woman have that Luna doesn't?" My disappointment was immediate. I turned away, then, after a couple of seconds, turned back. Who's this Luna? She's not even in the room and she's getting a speaking part. Interesting. Hedgehog guy continued, "You've seen plenty of women who would do anything for money your whole life, Jason. Are you really going to give up Luna, who you know inside and out, for someone like this? Then what about everything you did for Luna? What about your past?" Hedgehog guy's face was twisted with the bitterness of unrequited love, yet he put on a show of being a noble protector, sacrificing himself to loudly defend Luna's honor. He was really getting into character. Bravo. Except he was the only one moved by his performance. No one else was impressed. My bad luck, I guess. No matter what she told you all, we were only ever friends. That was the first time I'd ever heard Luna's name. It was also the first time I'd seen Jason, who was usually so mild-mannered around me, genuinely angry. Honestly, it was kinda hot. Successfully unlocked a new Jason skin. Nice. I rubbed the goosebumps on my arms, feeling a chill. I turned and realized it was coming from the human air conditioner next to me. The atmosphere in the luxurious private room was tense. The central air conditioning made my skin feel cold, but the brave brother who had just stood up for love was sweating bullets. Hedgehog guy, who had been so full of righteous fury for his damsel just moments before, now looked at Jason's suddenly dark expression with a face full of regret. I thought he was some deeply devoted lover. That's it? I, on the other hand, watched the various expressions around the room with the glee of someone enjoying a good show. Jason, man, I was just caught up in the moment, I didn't mean it. Jason, who had been secretly squeezing my fingers under the table just minutes ago, now looked grim. Frank, I thought of you as a brother, which is why I invited you here to meet Alice. But from now on, we're not. Frank's face was pleading. Jason, man, I really was just emotional. someone next to him quickly tried to mediate. "Come on, Jason, Frank didn't mean it. Just cool down." Jason looked at Frank's begging eyes with a cold expression that only grew darker. "I'm only going to say this one more time. Luna and I were never together. After she went abroad, we never even contacted each other again. Alice is my girlfriend, and she will be my future wife. Insulting her is insulting me. The person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with is Alice, not you and not Luna. If you think Luna is so great, you're free to pursue her instead of bad-mouthing my future wife in front of me. You don't need to pull this stunt for Luna. At most, Luna was a good female friend. But disrespecting my wife is disrespecting me, and I don't need to hang out with people who disrespect me." I propped my elbow on my knee and rested my chin in my hand, watching Jason's cold profile. His little mouth was going a mile a minute. I didn't catch all of it, but damn, he looked cute standing up for me. I wanted to kiss him. The rich kids who had been looking at me with such arrogance just moments before now avoided my gaze, probably terrified I'd whisper something in Jason's ear. But Frank rushed forward, grabbing my hand with pleading eyes. Ma'am, I was wrong. I really didn't mean it. You're so beautiful, you wouldn't hold a grudge against me, right?" Jason shot up from the booth, swatting Frank's hand away, ready to pull me out of this emotional blackmail scene. But I patted his hand reassuringly and pulled him back down to sit beside me. With a dark expression, Jason reluctantly let me guide him back down, but he switched places with me, holding my hand and positioning himself in front of me. Now he was sitting directly opposite the kneeling Frank. I smiled at his sharp profile, then pulled my hand from his. In his shocked and hurt gaze, I relaced our fingers together, interlocking them tightly. Jason's eyes, which had been wide with surprise, now narrowed like a lazy, satisfied lion. He wrapped an arm around my shoulder while continuing to glare daggers at Frank. While still holding Jason's hand, I turned to Frank and met his expectant gaze with a smile. "Mr. Frank, is it? You've said a lot just now, but it seems you've failed to say one thing to me. I'm sorry. I believe I'm the one who was just slandered, right? Or do you just not respect me?" The moment I said that, the expressions of those around us changed. They were probably thinking this new girlfriend was a force to be reckoned with. They weren't wrong. I've never been the type to let someone off the hook after they've wronged me. The death glare from the man next to me was practically solidifying. If looks could kill, Frank would probably be in pieces. Everyone here was smart. The people who had just thought Jason was being too harsh on his friend now shut their mouths. After all, Frank had apologized multiple times, but not once had he sincerely apologized to me, Alice. At the end of the day, he still looked down on me because of my ordinary background. Before Frank could say anything, I spoke again with a smile, and the sweat on his brow flowed even faster. My tone was full of curiosity. "Mr. Frank, I have a competitive streak, I admit. From the way you were so emotional just now, I imagine Miss Luna must be a very outstanding person." Pricked by my sarcastic tone, Frank got emotional. Already looking down on my background, he threw caution to the wind and went on a tirade. "Luna is the eldest daughter of the Bai family. She's generous, proper, and gentle. How could you possibly compare to her?" I held back Jason, who looked ready to leap up and give Frank a beatdown. "Oh. So impressive. And then?" Frank paused. "What and then?" I seized the opening and went for the kill. No way. You mean to tell me that besides her family and personality, Miss Luna has no other strengths in your eyes? Oh my, Mr. Frank, you're not just after her family's money, are you? Being a gold digger isn't a good look." Frank exploded. "What gold digger? We're a good match, from similar backgrounds." I continued my line of questioning. "If you're such a good match, why not boldly pursue her? If you like her so much, how come you can't even name any of her good qualities?" Frank fell silent. Frank racked his brain. Frank had a eureka moment. Frank spoke with confidence. "Luna is studying abroad. She's a post-grad, a returning scholar. How can a gold digger like you who might not even finish college compare to her? I nodded in mock understanding. You're right, I can't compare. Frank's smile was just beginning to form when I continued with my humble inquiry. Sigh, I was never a great student, not as brilliant as Miss Luna. For the college entrance exams, I just barely managed to get the top score in the province for science and only got into that little vocational school in Cambridge. I'm truly ashamed. Frank's smile froze on his face. That was one hell of a humble brag. I paused, feigning melancholy. I wonder which prestigious university Miss Luna attends abroad. Is it Harvard or Yale? Oh, I know, it must be Cambridge, right? I'm sure it's much better than my unimpressive little school. My self-deprecation and flattery left Frank's face turning pale. The people around who understood the joke were trying their hardest not to laugh. Leo had spilled his drink all over the table, and Jason had buried his face in my neck, his shoulders shaking. He must have been having a hard time holding it in. This boy was blushing from trying not to laugh, but he still remembered to defend me. Luna goes to Ching X University in Korea. It's ranked somewhere in the 900s globally. I patted Jason's shoulder sympathetically, finding it hard to hold back my own laughter. Oh my God, number 900 something. I composed my expression and continued, my voice choked with suppressed laughter. Pfft, ahem, everyone, feel free to laugh. I know my family background isn't as good as Miss Luna's. Even though I won a gold medal at the International Mathematical Olympiad, even though I get a full scholarship every year, even though I've published several papers as a sophomore, I'm still no match for Miss Luna. After all, my little vocational school is only ranked in the 20s worldwide. A 2-digit number is nothing compared to a 3-digit one, right, Mr. Frank? With that, I stood up, grabbed Jason, and quickly left the room, leaving only one last sentence hanging in the air. Sorry, something funny just occurred to me. We have to go. Before leaving, I didn't forget to turn back and deliver a final blow to Frank. You felt pretty great about yourself when you were charging in for love just now, didn't you? Taking it out on your own friend, a so-called admirer who can't even name a single one of her strengths. Don't build a persona of deep love on a foundation of calculated pros and cons. If deep love knew, it would be disgusted. Bang, the door slammed shut. Outside, Jason and I bent over, laughing until our stomachs hurt. Drop the mic and run. So exhilarating. 7 p.m., the peak of rush hour for office workers. But the entrance to the Century Hotel was already crowded with people. The lobby was a glittering sea of high society, filled with elegant gowns and fragrant perfumes. I opened the door to the dressing room. The moment my reflection appeared in Jason's eyes, I clearly saw a flash of stunned admiration in his dark pupils. In other words, I was so beautiful it made the dummy's eyes go wide. Jason excitedly took 2 steps back and pulled out his phone. I smiled and struck a pose. Click. 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 I look this good? Why only take one picture usually? This is different. This is the limited edition gala version. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Are you treating me like your personal dress-up doll? Jason's face lit up as his imagination ran wild. If you were, I'd spend all my money on you. You can look all you want tonight. At my words, Jason suddenly gave me a shy look, putting on a pitiful expression as he carefully watched my face. Ahem, then what about that white mermaid dress from last time, and the teal strapless gown with the little shawl from the time before that? Those were nice too. He finished with a shy kiss, then buried his head in my chest, embarrassed. Me? You want to have your cake and eat it too, huh? I was both annoyed and amused as I grabbed the back of his neck and pulled the big pervert 2 steps away. Focus on the task at hand. If you mess this up, you're sleeping in the doghouse tonight. What about the dog? He can sleep in the master bedroom and guard the door for me. No way. The dog isn't as good a guard as me. Get out. On it. I rolled my eyes at him and started walking forward in my 3-inch heels. Jason immediately stopped fooling around and rushed to put his arm around my waist to support me, a grin on his face that nearly stretched to the ceiling. I stood on the second floor, in a hidden corner, looking down at the guests filling the hall below. I scanned the crowd a few times but couldn't find my target. I was puzzled. It couldn't be. Jason sensed my mood and tightened his arm around my waist. "What are you looking for, honey?" I was in disbelief. Could it be? After my social media post was so obvious, Luna still didn't get it? I said, shocked. "Luna didn't come?" Jason replied matter-of-factly, "Oh, she came. But I didn't let her in." He snuggled up to me, whining. "Honey, you have no idea how terrible Luna is. She's like a piece of gum on your shoe. Once she sticks, you can't get her off." He then looked a little smug. "It took so much effort to get rid of her. There's no way I'd let her in to ruin our 3rd anniversary party. I even specifically told them not to send an invitation to anyone associated with her, to eliminate any possibility of her getting one." I silently gave him a thumbs up. As expected of a CEO of a publicly traded company. His risk management skills were off the charts. Jason puffed out his chest, proudly accepting my praise. Then, as the lights suddenly dimmed, he carefully took my hand and led me downstairs. As the spotlight followed us, we walked step by step to the center of the banquet hall. To my confusion, Jason had placed an ornate park bench, the kind you see everywhere, in the middle of the room. This was Jason's surprise for me? Well, it was certainly a surprise. It was another new experience, and really, any experience shared with Jason was worth remembering. The room was pitch black, with only the two of us bathed in light. But as we got closer, I started to notice something was wrong. This bench, it looked exactly like the one from the peach grove all those years ago. I turned to him in surprise. Jason had a knowing smile on his face, as if he knew I'd figure it out. He carefully led me to the bench and sat me down. As we sat in the same positions as we had back then, a shower of pink petals began to fall in the darkness around us. Then, the giant peach tree from that day appeared above our heads. I slowly reached out my hand and actually caught a petal. My eyes went wide. The petal in my hand was beautiful, but it had no weight and no scent. It was just a realistic virtual image. But it was an interactive virtual image. To achieve this level of precise interaction, the amount of calculation required would be unimaginable. It would only be possible with a sophisticated AI algorithm. My mind flashed back to the ambitious 20-year-old Alice, a genius praised by all her professors. That year, Alice, along with her lover and friend, wrote down their grand vision, to use AI algorithms to create a holographic world. That algorithm eventually brought their small company to fame, making it a leader in the industry. But Alice had succeeded and failed at the same time. The algorithm was developed, but no existing high-precision equipment could support the massive data flow of a holographic world. In the end, this hugely potential algorithm was applied to other fields, where it shone brightly. Even Alice had given up on her unrealistic youthful dream. But today, Jason had made it real. I snapped my head up and met Jason's deep, affectionate gaze. He plucked a peach branch, and the petals on it trembled slightly from the movement. Amid the shocked and disbelieving gasps of the other tech company CEOs in the room, he laughed with abandon, as if completely unaware of the storm this technology would unleash upon the industry, and even the world. He simply placed the peach branch in my hand and said softly, "Happy 3rd anniversary, Alice. My dream is for you to have no regrets in this life, even if everyone else says it's impossible." With tears in my eyes, I whispered back, "Happy 3rd anniversary, you fool. My dream came true long ago, the day you went against all opposition to transfer all the company's shares to my name and asked me to marry you." I looked at the peach branch in my palm and gently squeezed Jason's hand. When I was little, my mom always said that life is long, so choosing a partner is a very serious matter. She said, "Don't look for someone who is good to you, look for someone who is good." Mom, I really found him. The good one, the soulmate who is willing to spend a lifetime with me. It's been 7 years, and the way he looks at me is still as passionate as the first day. It's wonderful.